Somewhere beyond the recesses of time and space, two podcasters are set adrift in a machine, picking up transmissions of movies that are forgotten but not gone.
Welcome to Movie Memory Machine 5-4, the mini-series where we bring you 5 films thematically linked to the movie we're talking about this week. I am your host, Landen Solano, joined always by my co-host, Truman Caps. Truman, it's good to see you.
Landon, ahoy, motherfucker. It's good to be seen.
Yes, indeed. We are talking about Vampire in Brooklyn and 5 films that are influenced by or influenced it or were in the same conversation as this film.
I can't wait to see what movies are in kind of the same zeitgeist as Vampire in Brooklyn, because that movie is a crazy roller coaster, a crazy horny roller coaster, and I want to see what other attractions are at that theme park.
Very good. Well, I think most of these films we have talked about during the main episode, but there might be a surprise in here or two. Shall we go to our first film?
Yeah, nothing more surprising than a vampire. The People Under the Stairs. Okay. A Wes Craven film from a few years ahead of Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked a little bit about horror noir on the Vampire in Brooklyn episode. The kind of new lens in which to look at the black experience through horror films, whether urban or otherwise. And this is one that is at the kind of not center, but like there's some stuff in the 80s and there's definitely a lot of stuff in the 90s. This kind of falls right smack in the middle, where it puts a black protagonist in kind of peril, trapped in this house where there are people under the stairs that are being held captive by Everett McGill and Wendy Roby, who Wendy Roby is in this film, but odd that they were married, a married couple on Twin Peaks, playing a fucked up married couple in The People Under the Stairs.
It's one thing to get typecast yourself as an actor, but to get your partner typecast as well, that is a real achievement.
This is it leans further into the horror than Vampire in Brooklyn, but it is kind of Wes Craven, tiptoeing a little bit closer to horror comedy, and it's just got this kind of a weird, irreverent tone. And I feel like in the late 80s, early 90s, there was this like we can't trust our neighbors sort of vibe going on. The picturesque house, but what's going on inside?
Yeah. The concept that launched a million prestige drama series in the early 2000s. Your Desperate's Housewife, your Weeds.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so People Under the Stairs, this is definitely a recommendation. I have people go seek this one out. Shall we move on to the next one?
Let's move on to the next one. Yeah, Tales from the Hood. Okay, that is a cool poster. I'm going to say, I'm looking at this poster and I'm thinking, that skull with those sunglasses on, I want to invite him to my party.
So Steve Rebell is saying, yes, you can come in with those sunglasses. I said, with those sunglasses.
Steve Rubell is saying, not with that skin on your face. Not with that skin. Skulls only.
Gross. That's so gross. But then again, fitting for this movie, which is it's an anthology. So there are interconnected, well, not really interconnected, but there's a framing story about a mortician played by Clarence Williams, who we know from The Butler. He tells these stories about this movie goes hard, like real fucking hard on the commentary and like the irreverent cartooniness. It's weird. Like David Alan Grier, who you know from this time from In Living Color, being a comedic actor, is in this as like, and he's kind of playing it pitched at that cartoony level, but he's playing this like vile, abusive man, and they pull no punches because it makes the comeuppance of all of the characters in this that much more cathartic and satisfying. And it really pitches this in a way that a lot of other horror comedies don't have the balls to do.
I have recently fallen back in love with David Alan Grier based on his performance on St. Denis Medical on NBC. But that alone, knowing that he's in this playing an over-the-top dramatic role, is kind of enough to almost get me to break my aversion to horror movies and watch it.
This is, like, I don't think you'd have any problem watching this. The horror is actually secondary to, like, the cutting commentary that the film is making about, the black experience in America.
Okay.
So, if anything, this is like the bright colors. This is directed by Rusty Cunliffe, who is just like, and the cinematographer is Ernest Dickerson, who just like loves playing with colors. Ernest Dickerson did. Wait, are we going to be covering one of his films next? No, we're not. But we should be. We should be.
Yeah.
He did one of the Tales from the Crypts, Demon Knight, which is just a beautiful piece of 90s horror cinema.
Now, is that Demon Knight N-I-G-H-T or Demon K-N-I-G-H-T? Oh, it's the second one?
It's Demon K. Demon K.
Oh, Demon K. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons monster manual page.
So this is maybe my highest recommendation. Actually, this is, I think, in my top 10 horror films of all time. So
damn,
definitely check out Tales from the Hood.
All right. Well, hey, let's hood on to the next one.
All right.
Stupid. Vamp. This is,
yes.
I've not heard of this one. What's the deal with Vamp?
That's the evergreen question, I think. What's the deal with Vamp?
Everyone's asking.
This is a horror comedy that leans a little more into the horror than the comedy, but it kind of transposes the let's get laid narrative of teen films of the 80s into a stripper club. And all you really need to know about this one is, or I guess the sales pitch is, what if Grace Jones's stage persona was that she was a vampire and killed people?
I'd buy that. I would go, like, that's all you need. Put that on the poster, and I'll go see it. Oh, okay. I mean, I'm sorry. The poster I'm looking at just has a pair of lips and a weird triangle-looking vampire. Okay, so she's a nightclub act who also kills people.
That is a vampire. Yes, absolutely. And it's full Grace Jones. There's no like trying to contain her, a la whatever that James Bond movie was.
A View to a Kill. That View to a Kill. Yeah. Okay. So they're not View to a Killing her. They're letting her do all the killing
and viewing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm already down to view this. So does it have any of the comedic aspects that Vampire in Brooklyn does?
Not the same tone of humor, but yeah, I mean, it takes that teenage sex comedy vibe, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High in a vampire strip club.
Okay. Boy, I'm into Fast Times at Ridgemont High, so again, this seems like just a very ringing endorsement for this movie.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. You could do a lot worse. Definitely check out Vamp if you want to. If you like Vampire in Brooklyn. Let's move on to the next one.
If you like the first 4 letters of Vampire in Brooklyn, we highly recommend Vamp.
Next.
Oh, Death by Temptation. Yes, I remember us talking about this.
Speaking of James Bond, it is directed by James Bond III.
Oh, well, he had a lot of kids.
This is, I don't think we need to talk too much more about this because we did cover it pretty extensively in the episode, but this is the template for Vampire in Brooklyn, and stars Kadeem Harrison, who oddly has a character arc very similar to that of his in Vampire in Brooklyn, without the dropsies.
Okay, well that's good. It's a dropsies-free experience.
What I find kind of fascinating about this film, it is very, if you're gonna watch it, which I recommend, but it's very like student filmy. It has a kind of like elevated student film vibe to it, but from my understanding, and I hope I'm not speaking out of line here, James Bond III is gay, and so it has this weird coding to it that you might not get in other films of this ilk.
Yeah. So he's kind of like trying to speak to a community that maybe wasn't able to be as out or as open, and still had to be kind of using more, coded sensibilities, coded themes to share what their experience was.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, I don't know. I wish that James Bond III had gone on to do more films in this vein, because it is just kind of rich with metaphor and some visual flourishes and just the take on the because this is an incubus, it's not a succubus, not a vampire. And so just having the like slight change in perspective makes it all the more interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of showing that there's a lot of different ways into a vampire type story. It's not just all some person gets seductively transformed into a vampire and then has to deal with it. There's a lot of different routes to tell that tale.
Yeah, absolutely. So go check out Death by Temptation. Plus, it has a performance in it by Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I feel like I could get that from a Capital One commercial, but this is probably going to be a better performance.
All right, moving on to the final film, and I'm going to let you take the reins on this one.
All right, give it to me. Coming to America, of course. I mean, this is the funny version of Vampire in Brooklyn. It's the same movie, but what if he isn't a vampire?
Or maybe he is, and we just don't know it.
Yeah, that just got left out because there was too much other good stuff to put in. Look, I know that we've talked about John Landis and what an awful man he is in terms of, unsafe sets, people who have died, his terrible son. Every movie that he makes, though, is just, there's a certain coziness to it, and there's like a comforting vibe to it, and this movie, despite being sort of an over-the-top comedy, it has such a gentle pace and a kind of like almost meditative feel to it, whilst being over-the-top and completely ridiculous. It's something that I haven't seen in a lot of other movies, the way that he will just let these scenes play out so that Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall can just kind of play off of each other and be wild.
Yeah, he does have a comedy background, and I think that is why he's so successful at, like, setting up the circumstances in which to allow comedians to perform and interact with each other. I mean, because the same could be said for Three Amigos, which is, like, you have Martin Short, you have Steve Martin, you have Chevy Chase. Like, just set up a medium wide shot on the three of them and let them go. Why complicate matters? Like, that is your strength of the film. Let them do their thing.
And I think also something that I think is so unique about Coming to America is here you've got Eddie Murphy, whose whole deal as a comedian was kind of being big and crazy and over the top. And in this, he's playing a pretty restrained and down-to-earth character, and a lot of it is that he is the most normal... Well, yes, you're right. He's also playing a bunch of over-the-top characters, and also an old Jewish man who for some reason is hanging out at a black barber shop all the time. But the main character that Eddie Murphy plays in this is almost the straight man of the movie. He's just this wealthy prince from Africa undercover trying to find a wife in New York, and the craziness of New York around him is really what makes it where the comedy comes from.
Yeah, well, I mean, you compare that to Paul Hogan. I mean, we're talking, fish out of water stories to a degree.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't be the fish out of the water and then also be the zaniest fucking fish there is. Like, that's just kind of the way the genre works.
Yes, yeah. Look, and also, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that Arsenio Hall in this movie is looking so fine. He is just the most immaculate dude you've ever seen in a movie. So if you like really good-looking men, watch Coming to America and just fast forward to all the Arsenio Hall scenes.
Or just watch his show.
Yeah, pump your fists and everything, make that sound.
Well, woof, woof, woof. Let's move on to the next episode. We will see all of you on the next 5-4. For Truman Caps, I've been Landon Solano.
And for Landen and Solano, I've been Truman Caps.
Movie Memory Machine is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpod to keep the machine running. Theme song by Porky's Groove Machine. Rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. For more information on today's show, visit moviememorymachine.com.